Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes for those keeping count. This is episode 334, and I am bringing on two incredible individuals who actually have started a incredible franchise. And I look at this and I'm thinking, wow, why wasn't this thought about a long time ago? But here we are. I want to welcome Bill Mathis and Mark Goddard of Slice Nation. And I want to welcome you guys here. Thank you for being here. And I mean, your story is incredible.
It's been a fun story, and the best part about it is that the people that I've been lucky to actually bring around, which takes time.
Yeah.
Bill happened to be that person, which is just absolutely, incredible.
I look at this and I guess it is going to be a franchise, and your dreams are hopefully getting this out everywhere. But right now, what you're based in Florida?
We're based in Florida, Tampa.
So how did this come about?
Came about as I've always looked for voids in the marketplace, and I was chatting with somebody one day, and I go, pizza is a void. There's a void in the marketplace. I got to go buy 3 hamburger places, two chickens, and a taco, and I can't get a slice of pizza. Pizza's been tried as maybe it's more as an individual item, like the little personal pans. They just don't work, and they don't cook quick because even a personal pan size, our pans, geometry wise, they're only 2 inches center mass. So when the pizza goes in the oven, it's cooking immediately,
Yeah,
which is a benefit to us to be able to get speed out of it.
a long time ago, and when I was a lot younger, I worked at Pizza Hut, and so I know, the dynamics of cooking those little things, and but you never saw. I mean, yeah, you could go to these quickie marts and get slices, and some pizza places even do slices, but not in the concept that you have.
Bill, elaborate on that. How slick? We're pretty slick on that.
So the first time I met Mark in person, we were at a what I would call, I guess, a test kitchen. And like I said, I hadn't met Mark before in person, but we had talked a number of times. Had some Zoom calls, of course. And so he had this set up and just some items really from the grocery store that which you would find normally. And we're putting these slices of pizza together in these proprietary trademark pans that Mark has developed. And we ran them through this oven, and I was shocked. I thought I was going to grab this piece of pizza, and you were going to, you want to like really test it out, like you're going to drive it. You're driving around in your car, you're going to eat it because you're going to wear it, right? I don't know how you can eat a taco without wearing it. Sometimes a hamburger as well. And so I'm tipping it on the side, and I noticed that it was the edges were caramelized. I'm like, this is brilliant, but it's probably not going to taste very good, right? It's going to be hard or something. And it was fantastic. And so Mark asked me prior, to get involved in this, but that was really kind of the final straw, if you will, to say that this Mark's got something here. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, I looked at some of the stuff on your website. You have the triangle shaped, and you make these individually, and I thought, that's an interesting concept because we all know that pizzas are round or square depending on where you get them. But yeah, and you can get slices some places, but like you said, sometimes they just fall out of your hand. They're kind of rubbery.
Well,
They don't have substance.
and everything we do is fresh made to order. So we don't have a heat lamp in the place. We don't have a microwave in the place. Everything is made to order in quick service time.
No heat lamps. Come
No
on.
heat lamps.
No. No, so you're gonna drive up, Rob, and you're gonna tell us what you want, and we're gonna make it right there, and then we're gonna cook it for you, and we're hoping to have that done in under from start to finish in under 2.5 minutes. We think we can get the cook time down to around 140, 145.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
and in
is,
I was telling you about that test kitchen I was in, and there wasn't even our own setup and our equipment and how we wanted to work the way we want it to work. And I think we were at 1 minute 50 seconds there. So once we get the equipment to work exactly how we want it, we think we can get it down even a little bit faster and come out with the same great product.
it seems like the under 2 minute time frame is that that golden goose. I mean, McDonald's, Wendy's, they all have some type of structure. So how are you going to compete? Not only against them, but other franchises that may sell pizza.
Well, fortunately, I think we're Canessa. We are a drive-through model. I mean, we're a. I hate to say it, Scooters. We're a uh, salads and go. We're a. I mean, I can keep going and going and going. There's so many different models out there that work in
Right.
this drive-through model in a small footprint. We have the benefit we can use a small footprint for our locations, 700 square feet and drive-through only.
Well, and I noticed with a lot of the other franchises, they're going down to a smaller footprint. Even Starbucks is going down, and they're shaving their buildings in half. And
Makes sense.
they
You
don't
know,
want people lingering. They want them to get their product and go.
fortunately, that adds complications. When you have people inside the building, it adds a lot of complications.
Yeah.
I hate to say that out loud because we will have locations someday with people in it, but out of the gate, it's a drive-through model.
Well, what is the employee count for something of your structure? Because you go to a McDonald's and there's 30 people in there working, but
I
with
happen to be at
yours,
McDonald's and Walmart the other day, and there was nobody in the store, and
wow.
there was 8 people back there. I counted 8 people, so that's hefty. If we want to run it down to a minimum, we can run it down to 2 people. You run it down to a cashier and a person making pizzas, and then hand them to her, or run it through the machine and packaging them, hand them
So,
off.
not only are you keeping the employee count down, you're keeping expenses down. So franchise owners can actually make some money.
That's the plan.
That,
That's where Bill jumps in. Bill,
I
you
mean,
give him
that,
background a little bit.
do you
Bill's
yeah,
got
have
an amazing background.
it? Let's talk about your background because I a lot of people know my origin story. I was a carpet cleaning owner for 19 years, and I sold the business in 2014. But I had started this consulting company back in 2001, so I overlapped. So I had the experience, I had the knowledge, and now I'm in this marketing field, teaching lawyers, doctors, and entrepreneurs of all types, marketing and publishing, but you know, you guys have you been in the franchising arena? I mean, how are you taking some of those concepts into Slice Nation?
He'll cover the franchise piece of it, and then I'll cover my background, which touches some of all these pieces together and brings the kind of the whole picture together. Bill's got the amazing background. Bill, please.
again, I'm fortunate enough that Mark and I had several conversations before we really put this together. But Mark said something interesting to me once, not too long ago. He said, "You're going to be the franchisor's franchisee," and so what does that mean? There's a lot of good franchisors out there, and there's a lot of good opportunities. But one thing that I think is going to be not only unique about us is we have a different product, delivering it in a different way than anybody else does. But for franchisees, we're going to be a little bit different, and we're going to be. And this isn't a shot at other franchisors because, like I said, there's good ones out there. But we want these agreements to be fair and equitable. And the biggest driver is people that have to make money when they get into a franchise business. They need to see a return on their investment and have to know that this is worthwhile the pain and effort. Because, Rob, as you probably know, in a quick service business or any business that you own yourself, there's a lot of sweat equity that goes into it. There's a lot of times where you're working hours you never thought you were going to work, and you're running around delivering product because a freezer broke down at one location and you got to bring it to another. So, people that will come into our business have probably already experienced that, so they're going to be ready for it, the unexpected. But what they're going to be surprised about is how our franchise agreement is written, and the fairness and being equitable for both sides. Because if it's not good for both sides, it just isn't going to work in the long run.
Yeah, that's and not to bring up McDonald's, but I think when it comes to their equity side of it, the corporation always makes more money than the franchisee.
I think
Bottom
when it
line.
first started out, I think it was very clean. I think it's become cluttered. Let's put it that way, because I think it was very clean. I think it made a lot of millionaires back in the day. One would quote Ray Kroc, everybody made more millionaires than anybody could think of in the '60s and early '70s. I mean,
Right.
So to give them that fair shot. The other thing too is Bill, the big thing about Bill is company, as far as franchisors, will take kickbacks from a lot of different places. So say we sign a vendor up and we say, look, we'll do this much business, and they give you a little bonus kickback to you that comes back to the franchisor.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we do, everything goes back to the franchisee. We want, you're going to pay a flat fee, you're going to pay your fee, but you're going to know what that fee is.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want, if we pick up any efficiencies, they go right back to you. That's the bill side.
Yeah,
it doesn't have, the industry's not like that.
No, and I think that it has to be fair because they're investing in you. And they have to believe in you, and they have to believe in the concept. And I think a lot of people they'll and let's go with these new cookie things. There's a lot of cookie franchises coming on board, and I'm thinking to myself, first of all, it's a secondary market. Yes, it's a food market, but it's not pizza, it's not burgers, it's not your staple. So you got to sell a lot of cookies at a high enough margin to make any money. With pizza, your margins are lower.
I don't know how they do it, to tell you the truth. I don't know how they do it.
I stopped at one and they wanted like $8 for a cookie, and I'm like, really?
They're good cookies, though. I don't want to disparage anybody else. Those cookies are good.
Yeah, but I could get a couple slices of pizza and be on my way.
Well, if you want to break it down to a simple term, pizza's number 2 without a drive-through. I mean, that's a real number. So could it be number 1 with drive-throughs with 30,000 locations or 20? Sure, possibly.
Yeah, and then I think you have a good market in Florida to test everything. You got high tourism rate. People are going to stop in because of the curiosity factor, and then they're going to say, "How this was great."
That's part of our expansion because we're going to obviously slip over to Orlando just as soon as possible. Where you get international people.
Orlando's my favorite destination spot.
Right.
I'm a big fan of Disney, so I'm always down there. But yeah, I mean, but you're also competing against the Blaze pizzas, and I think your concept's a little different because people get to decide what they want, how they want it. And they don't need to order a whole pie to do it.
We appreciate that.
Yes.
That's a plus.
It is a plus. But besides pizza, what are the add-ons?
Bill, you want to jump in on that one?
Isn't that kind of your?
Oh, that's fine. What we're trying to do, here's what we're going to do. I mean, we're really conscious about ingredients. We're ingredients people. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a great salad with a couple of dressings. It'll be olive oil or sunflower. We have probably not the sunflower nowadays. It'll probably be olive oil based. So that way we can get away from any false sugars like any corn syrups. So we're going to do that. We're also going to do a caprese salad.
Wow.
So we'll have a little cherry tomato with a little ball of mozzarella and then a basil leaf. And then all you got to do is you drizzle it and sprinkle it and it goes out the door. It's already prepared.
And to me, that's brilliant because you got, I love pizza. My wife loves salads, but you go to McDonald's, they don't have salads anymore.
That's crazy.
They eliminated, a market that they could have captured had, post COVID. You guys are introducing stuff that it appeals to all audiences.
And we're going to use our slice box for branding because what'll happen is we'll have a small, real thin plastic insert that goes into the box, and then it becomes the salad box. So we brand everything back to the slice itself. Also, when we cook, the crust also makes 11 stars on the crust, on the bottom of the crust. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I didn't. I saw the logo and I thought, that's just, not only an interesting concept, but I think between you and Bill, your marketing is going to be on point. It's going to capture the right audience. It's just, how many locations do you want? Are you going to grow as big as say McDonald's or Subway, or do you want to keep it smaller?
I think that you've got to take it. This sounds cliche, but you got to take it a store at a time. And certainly, we have a goal, and I don't think we'd want to give some gargantuan goal out here on your podcast. But we want to see this brand grow and grow quickly.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best way to put it.
I might add a piece to that, Rob, because we
Yeah.
always, Bill and I, we compare in a lot of places, but we differ in a different spot. The coffee places are building 250 stores a year.
Yeah.
Same footprint, same everything. I mean, if it just works. So can we build 250 stores a year? I think so.
You know,
Without answering the question.
I live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and if you know anything about franchises, the Annie Ann's franchise started here. The problem is and I know Ann Byler, and I think she's a brilliant woman, but you know, her and her kids didn't want to have the business anymore, and they sold it to a conglomerate, and they eliminated a lot of products. They scaled it down, and I just don't hear about Annie Ann's anymore. You know. But down in Florida, you got Wetzel's Pretzels, and they're also on the West Coast, and I think they are getting more publicity than Annie Ann's.
You know, and Annie Ann's was a success story, you know, because you think about it, well, you know them, the family members, a lot of the close friends that were all the first ones in on that, they all did very, very well, you know, for themselves, and they made a great brand.
Yeah. And I, you know, being a marketing guy, I love those stories of success and family. I just don't like, hey, you sold out. Yeah, I guess it happens, you know, money changes people. But, you know, I like your simple concept now. I hope that down the road it stays simple.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, Rob, because as Mark was talking about the menu and stuff, there is a balance there. You said your wife likes salads, you like pizza, and it's always hard to find that balance. And when you bring in too many ingredients, then you start making it more complicated. You're going to reduce your speed of service. You're going to probably make more mistakes because we're just human beings in how we operational in the back room where we're making your pizza. So there's a fine line there, and I think everybody is searching for that fine line. I know a lot of brands these days try to bring in all these extra things, you know, because they're just trying to drive their ticket. But sometimes it's at a sacrifice of service as well. And you know, so
one of the restaurants that really impresses me is the In-N-Out franchise, because they don't offer a lot of things. They keep it simple. So when you go in there, you know what you're going to get. You know, it's you don't have 100 different options. And I think that's what hurt McDonald's is they offer so many choices to so many people. It confuses them. You know,
I think it just happens over time, doesn't it, Rob? Wouldn't you say that kind of just happens over time? Because what happens is they get a market share, and then all of a sudden it starts slipping a little bit. Like, hold on, we got to add something. We got to add something. And then all of a sudden, poof, you got a monster.
Right. Yeah. And because you're trying to attract new people. And you know, here's the thing: is you don't have to attract everybody. You just have to attract the right people. And if you keep your menu small, you know, you get that core business right away. And a lot of times they just tell their friends, hey, you know what? Go here because this is what you're going to get. You're not going to get the extras. You're not going to get all the frills, but you are going to get decent food. And I think that's what people want nowadays.
Well, we can keep the ingredients, you know, you keep the ingredients list small too. You're rotating your product a lot, which is you're getting a fresher product. It's not sitting there for 3 days, or 4 or 5, 6 days, or a week.
You know, I do love the convenience of going to Mod. You know, you go there, you get to choose your stuff. But the problem is, if there's too many people in front of you, by the time you get up there, you're no longer hungry. With you going through the drive-through, I think people don't have to watch all those ingredients. They can just see, oh, there's option 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll pick that one. And
that's a problem. It slows up the line when people start there and look at 30 ingredients. They're going, hold on a minute, what am I going to pick? And then that really becomes a slow up in the line. That's a problem in their model, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, and I know that you guys have been in franchises before, I think, in the coffee business. And are you taking any of those concepts from the past and saying, hey, this worked for them, maybe I can implement it here, or that didn't work, so we're not going to use that?
Bill, you want to? I know where I can go with this one. This is a long one.
Yeah. So I am involved in a couple other brands. One of them you may have heard of is Subway, which you have mentioned before, and also Caribou Coffee. But This is a little bit more closer to Caribou Coffee because to Mark's point about the smaller footprint and bringing people, through the drive-through only concept and having a little bit of a reduced menu. So we've definitely learned some things from that in terms of development and ground leases and how big a footprint you really need. And so Mark's been in one of our locations that we're building, and he realized that amount of space might be a little bit too big, but it might be the right space compared to maybe something a smaller footprint. So from those things, I think we've learned some things, and it's obviously for the Tampa St. Pete market in this area of Florida. Some economic things are real life, or in my other business that I can share with Mark that are proprietary. So we can have better numbers when we talk to franchisees about what their expectations might be.
Well, Bill's also the chair for the Subway. Go ahead, brag about yourself for a second, Bill. I have here. I don't want to. Please go ahead, throw it in.
Well, I don't know that it's relevant to this conversation.
Oh, your history is always relevant. I'm going to go through my history in about 2 minutes.
All right.
Go ahead.
So it's your history in 2 minutes. I don't think so. I think you'd be beating yourself. But Rob doesn't have the time for your history.
Oh, we got plenty of time.
So, yeah, Rob, you had mentioned earlier about background, so I guess we can just dive into background. I started with Subway as a field consultant in 1992. That's where I got my start at Subway. But prior to that, it's interesting. We're talking about pizza today. Just as I was out of high school, my first restaurant job was delivering pizza for Domino's Pizza, and that's when Domino's was taking off. And it was a pretty cool job. Got to listen to the radio, deliver pizzas, and if somebody tipped me $1, I was pretty excited. So anyway, worked through some other restaurants and ended up at Subway. And in 2001, I bought my first store. Grew that to 4, and then there was an opportunity came as Caribou Coffee called me and wanted to ask about franchising and get some inside tips and information and stuff to help them maybe develop it. And I said, hey, if you ever want to put locations and franchise down in Florida, we also had a place down in Florida. And I said, give me a call. And a year later, they gave me a call. So that's how I got involved in there. I am the chairman of the Subway Franchise Association, where we represent over 10,000 of the Subway owners, or Subway restaurants, I should say. And I am also the vice chair of the Coalition of Franchisee Associations, which we have over 21 franchise associations on. So I keep myself plenty busy. And when Mark gave me an initial call, I wasn't sure. And we talked a few times. I said to my wife, Michelle, I said, I don't know, this might be something interesting. And she said, when are you ever going to say no? You're busy enough. And I said, no, this sounds pretty cool. I think I need to dive in this a little bit more. And after I told her about that test kitchen, and then we met with Mark later for dinner that night, and she was sold on it too. So,
hey, I'm sold on it, and I'm not even an owner or have equity or nothing. And it's like I just want this to happen.
It's been fun, and speaking about backgrounds, I think my background's it's been obviously been a little more diverse than Bill's. I took it, and this is not bragging. There's nothing bragging about this. A never before grocery product to 3,500 stores, including Walmart, and showcased on QVC. That's a success story in anybody's world. It gets very challenging when you hit 3,500 stores because your advertising becomes a problem because you're stretching out across the states instead of a localized area. Anyway, make a long story short, it taught me food manufacturing and packaging, which we're using today.
I was over in southern France in October, and we were in Toulouse, and they were just opening up a Subway franchise, and I thought, wow, they're everywhere,
yeah.
But the thing about southern France is that every restaurant we went into, everybody served some pizza of some sort.
Mm.
And I thought, I just want some American pizza. Just didn't happen.
Well, the funny part, a slice is actually, and it's a number. It's actually the most request. They like people like a slice.
Mm-hmm.
Do they like a square one as good as a slice? No, they don't. They want a whole slice, and it's kind of it's a thing, believe it or not. You wouldn't think that, but so anyway.
And I sincerely see your franchise going overseas. Not just in the United States. I see it going into Canada and Mexico and Italy and France, and because it's simple.
we have some unique thoughts on it. Well, here on our products, we're going to source everything we can as close as possible. And when we jump overseas, we're talking to Australia on a master, and basically they produce just about everything we produce here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll source everything we can for the franchisees locally as close as possible. So we source everything within the States. Pineapple, we got to get from Mexico. So kind of crazy, but yeah. So that's our goal, is to source everything we can. Olive oil comes out of California. Tomatoes come out of Indiana. So, we're trying to utilize the United States and the farmers
Yeah.
and sustainability.
And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, because sometimes, and I've noticed companies have, initially they come on board and they'll say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is my goal. And then they can't do it. And so I'm hoping that down the road, those same goals stick with Slice Nation, because, I think you have to have some core values. And I think once established, people are like, wow, this is the consistency that I get. And but you don't see that with a lot of franchises. Sometimes they'll just buy local. Sometimes they'll buy from the distributor, and it's inconsistent.
Yeah, they were ingredients people back then again.
So,
we want
besides the franchisee, what do you want to do with the community that's going to be benefiting from all
Bill,
this?
what's our outreach? Give a couple of outreach pieces, and I'll give you a couple of outreach pieces, because that's important. We're connecting.
Yeah.
The logo was built because we are a nation. It's not Italy. We don't need red and green on it. We want red, white, and blue. So,
Right.
we look at everybody as here in the United States. And then the best part about it, like you mentioned, when we jump international, there's no question about where that logo comes from. It comes from, we actually have our trademark actually in Egypt already for our logo.
Wow.
So Bill, I'll let you jump in on the rest of that.
Yeah, so I think that you've got to start in the foundation, and that is your local community. And again, this will probably sound cliche, but I've learned a lot through my years with Subway that, Subway's a big chain, all right? And Slice Nation someday may be a big chain like that. But to start off, no matter how big or small you are, you've got to be involved in the local community. And
Mhm.
Tampa is not a small city, but there's high schools and there's elementary schools, there's middle schools, and those are all local communities. And we need to start with being involved in there. There's many other outreach programs and places we can support, and we're going to do that. And maybe Mark's going to touch on some of that. But I think the key is you've got to be involved with your local communities. That means everything to start with.
Yeah. I my last book was called Legacy, and it's one of the questions that I now ask a lot of people on my interviews is how do you want your legacy to be known?
Yep. We're doing a food truck, working on that. So what the plan is, when we start, let's say we want to go to Miami, we'll put the food truck there 90 days ahead of time working before they open. So that way there's a little hot button there already. Franchisee gets paid on it, and everybody's happy. Or in grand openings, we'll have them there on grand opening. More, if we get enough people through there, I'd love to be able to serve them there too. So kind of works for everybody. Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rob, I think you mentioned, so you say, well, what is your legacy?
Mhm.
And again, you've talked to a lot of people, and things can come across as cliche, but I really believe this. If you serve a good product at a fair price and give good service, and you support your local communities, whether it's schools, firefighters, police, um, whether it be 4-H clubs or whatever it is. You can make a long list of all kinds of good things that are happening in local communities. I think that's the legacy, and the people who sign up to be in our brand, they say these people are fair, and they run a business, and they're above board, if you will, transparent. And so everybody that is either invested into Slice, whether they're a customer or an investor or a franchisee, they can leave saying, this is a great company that provides all those things.
Mhm.
And if we can walk away, whenever that day is, hopefully we never walk away and we can just pass this down, but somebody can say, hey, Bill and Mark and my wife, Michelle, and everybody else involved can say, those guys really did a good job, and here we are, and this is what we have. So I hope that's our legacy.
And I think when you pass it off, I think you've built that legacy strong enough that even if you pass it off to the next group that might take it from 1,000 stores to 5,000 stores, maybe, or person, or whatever that number might be, hopefully that footing is already strong enough that that's not going to change.
Well, and going forward, anybody who comes in to replace you, or both of you, needs to have or needs to understand the original vision of Slice Nation, and so that way it'll grow the way you want, and not somebody else's vision when they come in. And I think that's what happens to a lot of companies. The new people come in and they disregard everything that business was founded on, and then employees get mad, customers get mad, and the business fails. I mean, and I'm not saying let's look at J.C. Penney or Sears, because they're not in the food business, but these were iconic businesses that you thought would never fail.
Yeah, I
Especially,
think
and Kmart too.
once they move to private equity, it becomes a dollar amount, not about the customer. I think that's the problem, right? I mean, in the day, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Well, it could be possibly, I guess.
and
So
and
one very smart
employees.
person told me. I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and employees need to understand your vision, and the more they understand your vision, the more they're going to be loyal to the company. I'm just a big believer in instilling that vision with as many people that will listen, because the more that they can share in the total vision of what the company stands for, you won't have people that quit. The turnover won't exist because they'll want to stay.
Bill and Michelle's a specialist at that. Their people have been with them for a long time. So that's another plus about Bill and Michelle that nobody talks about. Their people are very loyal to them. That comes from the top down. Period.
Mhm.
It's a kudos to Bill.
So with ingredients rising, how are you guys going to keep costs down?
Lemon ingredients. Back then again, we don't have anything that fluctuates. We're not a wing. We're not a chicken wing. We don't have a market that fluctuates. I mean, we've got pork.
Yeah,
Pork doesn't go. It's not going anywhere.
I was at a restaurant the other day, and now they're charging $1 extra for every egg that you order, and I'm like,
yeah,
why don't you just build it into the price? Why do I have to pay extra?
Well, I think maybe, Rob, not to go down too far down that road. I know which restaurant you're talking about if it's a chain, and you're right. But I think that also gives that brand or whatever restaurant to the flexibility to say when the prices come down, and we don't have to revamp all of our menus. But I hear you. It's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, it's and the thing is that they're never going to lower their price once it's up, it's up. And so we got a few minutes left. Any last words that you want to impart?
Do you have any questions of us?
Do I have any questions?
Anything you've missed? Anything you've missed on you'd like to just cover?
No, I mean, I go where the conversation goes. So I didn't have any, written down questions.
Nice.
It's just my style. But what do you do when you're not thinking about Slice?
It doesn't leave the brain. It doesn't leave my mind. I sleep about 4 hours a night, and it doesn't leave your mind the rest of the 20 hours.
4 hours.
It would be fun if
a
we
luxury for me.
Oh, Bill gets. I'll send Bill silencing me now. I'll send an email out at 1:00 in the morning without a doubt. And I'm not. And I don't drink. So
if we had an impromptu game show, Mark and I can answer these questions differently for each one, because Mark is right. I'll wake up in the morning. There's an email that he sent to me at like 2:38 in the morning, and so what are you doing when you're not thinking about Slice? I got to say, I don't know what else Mark is doing. He did tell me the other day. He said, Bill, I'm going to take 24 hours and going crappie fishing with my buddy. And so maybe Mark has taken 24 hours off that I know of in the last few months, or maybe the last year. And I keep myself busy enough. So, but there's time to think about other things. But certainly this is a focus for both of us right now.
Yeah, when I started writing books 13 years ago, I never imagined that I'd get past the 50 mark, because I was doing one book at a time, and then it was 4 or 5 books a year, and I got to the 50 mark with my last book, Legacy, and between October and December, I started 17 book projects that'll be launching throughout 2025, and it's just nonstop. And I do these podcasts. I started this in 2018, and I do them to introduce entrepreneurs to other brilliant entrepreneurs, to give them ideas so that they can go out and make new money. And I've never made a dime on the podcast. I do it because I want to give back. This is my way of giving back to the entrepreneurial community. And so I want to thank both of you for being here, because I believe that not only Slice Nation Pizza will succeed, but the core values that you two have about giving to the community will be there for a long time. And it gives people an idea of who you are, why they can trust you, and why they can benefit from just going to a single source of pizza, which is Slice Nation.
We want to give them an opportunity to go through a drive-through and have a slice of pizza made to order. That's as simple as it gets. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that.
Right. Yeah. And you only have so many flavors, but
ingredients.
Ingredients. But I'm glad you got pepperoni, because that's really hard.
Pepperoni, I should be able to quote this, but pepperoni is 63%, I think. And then I'm going to say that's a number, but there's a number there. It's higher than you think it would be.
Yeah.
I would think you should close the door before you even open it in this kind of concept if you don't have pepperoni.
Yeah.
But we got 1 minute, and maybe we can't cover this in 1 minute, but let's talk about the Uber Eats and the third party drive deliverables. Is that something that you might consider?
I looked at that. Did you look at that? Have you ever looked at that number, Bill? I looked at that number the other day. It's their penetration in fast food, McDonald's, and them really is not as great as you might think it would be.
And they take so much money to do it too.
Correct. And then by the time the product gets to the customer, I think the product's not good. So, I mean, I'd rather just come by and get a slice. I mean, that's really how simple it gets.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we're going to have to wait and see on that, because we haven't tested enough to see what the portability is on our end, and see how well it can travel, if you will. So you've always got to leave that option out there. But yeah, it does get expensive when you start ordering through those other third party delivery services.
Yeah, so it may come down where you have your own delivery, but then again, you're paying for the extra labor, you're paying for the insurance, you're paying for everything else.
Liability.
Yeah.
I'd say sooner than that would be a take and bake. Take and bake, and there's a paper product out there that you can put at 400 degrees, and they could take a slice home and cook a slice right there, and then do it in the house 5 hours later.
Yeah. Hey, this was great, guys. I want to thank you for being here, and for all those that are listening, we'll catch you on the next episode. Adios.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rob.
Rob. It's fun.